Hello and welcome to DM Talks. Today we're gonna look at the hardest thing in chess. Why is it so difficult to improve if you got, say, 1500, 1900, and you studied chess, you looked at chess and you know a lot of concepts and you just don't improve? How can that be? You definitely know for sure that you know much more about chess right now than you ever did before, and you're still not playing better. Today we're gonna look into that. And it is not easy. The answer, if I know the disease, but I don't know the cure, but I know maybe some of the cure. So we're going to look a little bit about how to approach this. If you are sitting in this problem that you say, I know a lot about chess, but somehow my moves are not really sticking together like they should. I'm not putting it rightly together. Let's check into that. So we are looking at a game from the Olympiad, played yesterday between Berkes and some guy, Daniel Arias. Of course, Berkes is a strong Hungarian grandmaster, and he has a very logical and sort of clear, crisp style. So I like to look at his games. And by the way, he's also a friendly fellow, so you can go and talk to him. He's a nice guy. Hungarian grandmaster. He used to be 2700. Now he's, like many players, down to 26 something, and this seems to happen a lot. Anyway, e4. Well, this is not the kind of concept that's kind of easy to learn. In the opening, you fight for the center and you develop your pieces and you try to inflict weaknesses on your opponent. That's kind of okay for most players. So it's a little bit later the problems come. And we're going to look at how, I was thinking about when I talk to some of my friends and they say, but why do you know that this is the most important thing here? And that is really the hardest thing about chess, knowing that I know that the weak pawns and I have to look after my king and I have to develop my pieces and all this stuff. But how do I know that this one of the things is the most important right now? How do I know that? How do I know that? That's the difficult thing, and you can use different things. You can use scenarios, you can use logic, you can use intuition, you can also use fairness, that if I do this, I can see I'm much worse. Have I played like this, so I should be worse? I don't think so. I don't think I made any mistakes, so I should not be worse like this. I should not accept this position, is also something you could say. Anyway, this is the Caro-Kann, and we are, of course, looking at it from Black's perspective. This is their featured opening at the moment at DM Talks. Interesting way to fight for advantage. I think the short variation of the Caro-Kann is clearly the most ambitious and dangerous try for white. This is the serious stuff. White, we come to realize that this having this space advantage is just a big advantage, really. The thing is, Black says, oh, I have a good friend. My bishop here is outside the pawn chain on my pawns on white. The problem is that in these structures you need to attack the center, and when the bishop is here and you attack the center with something like f6, then the white squares become much weaker. That's not a problem in the French, where you have a bad bishop sitting here, a dormant bishop you could say, but when the bishop is out here and getting kicked, which it will be, then it can be a problem, and you might just sort of break down on the white squares. This has happened a lot. So it's not that easy. Also in the French, white has started to have pretty good results with just playing e5, going for the space advantage, even though Black get fluent, easy development and counter attack. Their sort of space majority is just, space advantage is just too big. Knight e7 is a sensible move. We're not having any nonsense with the c5 and very open, interesting position. Another thing with the bishop here is that it's not here. It's not on the queen side. So sometimes a check in this way can be a problem for Black. So it's you take it a bit slow, and it's of course typical for Berkes to take it slow. He didn't take it slow. We played this where I was white and I lost, and he played c5 and queen b6 and played the sharp stuff and sacrificed the exchange and won a nice game. But he's gotten older, and anyway, this is all normal. a4. often white will play knight bd2 to b3 before he plays a5. It doesn't make much difference. White is pushing this pawn to get more space and sort of cramps black's counterplay on the queen side. He will have an advantage on the king side as well, so he's trying to sort of play on the whole board. So a4 and a5 is a way they started to play with black recently, just stopping the thing. The downside is clear. The downside for black is clear. That is, if you ever go c5, where do you leave a hole? You leave a hole here, right, on b5. And the natural counterplay is c5, so you already created a hole on the white squares, and you also left the bishop here out. So that's the downside with a5. The upside is that you will have more space, and the knight will also have a possibility to go to a7, so you sort of free your position a little bit. The natural move for white now would be knight bd2. He played knight a3. And somehow that looks wrong. So I would say that the thing is, it cannot really go here, but it of course could take back. But it can also loses the chances to go here and here, and the only idea is to go here, but is that really a great square for the knight? And so then here and so on, but it looks like it gets on a wrong circuit, and the development of this knight is more. It cannot be a really bad move, but it just does not look right. Bishop h7 is necessary for black to develop the king side. So black will put the knight here or here and get the bishop out and castle and say, okay, I have a solid position, and I might work on playing c5 later, especially now there's no check here on b5. c4, so that's the idea behind knight a3, is to take back with the knight on c4, and we see that white is accepting that that black gets a great outpost here, and white will get a sort of weak d pawn, but all the other, and also now we can see that with another downside is that this square gotten weak, and that's probably the biggest problem with white. So I would probably say that I would take it slower here, saying that okay, I don't need to give him that many squares. Anyway, knight a6, natural move. He just want to put it here, and then he would actually dominate this knight on a3. So and bishop d2, and sort of white still must be sort of okay, but it looks a little bit weird. And here white is de facto already offering a draw with rook c1. Black could play knight a2, and you have to go back, and you can go back. But of course, Berges is not going to have a draw against a player with more or less 400 rating points less than him. That's clear. So he takes on c4 and put the knight here, and we see that black is starting to have nice pieces here. He has they found good squares, the bishop here. So if you look at it in a sort of logical way, you say that okay, black is probably at least equal and maybe a little bit better already here. He has only good pieces, he has a nice structure, and white's attacking plan is not clear immediately. Queen b3, covering this square, and covering this square, and maybe eyeing this. Looks natural. Bishop e7, rook fd1. I don't know. Is that it might be nice to cover this. I don't know. Bishop f1. So white is just basically putting up the pieces and saying, okay, one thing is that that you have found nice squares for your pieces, but you cannot really do much. And if you play c5, then my weakness disappears, and I get this square as well, and have equal. And of course, he's also hoping, I think, maybe to do something and get the queen over here, because what you really want to do is attack this guy at some point. So that's sort of part of the plan. Bishop d6, it was not doing much here. It's looking nice on this diagonal, and this is it's a great piece, but putting it on h5 at the right moment can be very annoying for white. G3 and king h8. Typical Berger's, just prophylactic, no checks, and maybe preparing f6, maybe not, probably not, I think, to be honest. But black is fine here, and no reason to do anything serious. Bishop h5, bishop d2, and b5. And I think black sort of felt that, okay, I had to do something, and he put his bishop here, so it's no longer eyeing here, so that looks good. He said, the thing is, logically, it's not really clear that black should be able to play for advantage. What I would probably do here is say, okay, I need to connect my rooks and wait a little bit more before I do something, and white might self-destruct because he's 22-13, and he probably feels he has to do something with white. So and if he does something silly, maybe he plays h3 and d4, and that will leave more weaknesses in white's camp. So so I might think queen c7 or something could be good. But b5 also. Sometimes you wait too long, and it's the moment where you had your chance passes. So b5 makes a little bit sense. The knight was annoying here, and even though those knights are pretty, they're when knights are covering each other, they're not very effective in general. And he took on b4. That was sort of I don't know, but okay. And the thing is, when you play b5, yes, you did get the knight away, and yes, you did get the bishop pair, but you also created a weakness here, and suddenly black's position is not that solid. Before that, it was rock solid. So if you look at it in trading advantages, it looks a little bit like black made maybe not the best trade here. Queen b6, natural move. Now they are connected, and I would have probably connected the rooks before I started the action here, and take and g4. So and I'm not sure g4 makes sense here. Maybe he should play something different. I don't know. d5. d4 looks a little bit, because the thing is with pawns, they can't go back. So the weaknesses it creates will be there forever, and you should remember that. Okay, and d5. So that was the idea. Only having good pieces, hoping to attack this, but it looks a little bit spooky. a4 looks right. Kick the queen away from the pawn on here, and making sure that you can get this without having a queen actively placed in the center or something. And take. And I think you should probably take with a knight. And here black must be better. These pawns there, he has an advantage of a majority on the queen side and two bishops, and white's position is weakened. White is not without counterplay for sure, but if you push the pawns very fast, white will probably be occupied on that part of the board and will not be able to develop any counterplay. Okay, take, and white was able to play queen c7, creating some counterplay. And that was probably a smart move. Bishop d8, because you want to redevelop the bishop and inviting the rook down here. And that was also what is most important in this position. That's the kind of thing you're trying to look at. You're always trying to improve your position and things like that. So black is hoping to avoid counterplay and get the pawns moving without, and especially he does not want to have to deal with a lot of tactics in this diagonal, and this bishop getting annoyed, and stuff like that, and the knight jumping into the king side. So trying to control the position and utilize the passed pawn he can create on the king side, queen side, is definitely on the cards for what black want to do here. And something like this is already messy, because it's you can see that the harmony disappears from black position when he, well, how to cover this pawn here, and knight f5 may come, and knight d4, and it's not really what he wants. So Berges plays a good move here, bishop d8, trying to control the position with the general feeling that, okay, if nothing bad happens, white gets very active or something, I'm still better. I have the bishop pair, I have a majority on the king side, he has weaknesses, I should still be better, but I have to be a little bit careful here. And white has to, and white was probably sort of intrigued by that what black did not take on c7, thought that, that must means endings are good for me. But that's not the case. The thing is, the most important thing here is, like Howard Marks wrote a book, the most important things, and then he mentioned 20 things. And that's a problem with chess. What is most important is often a lot of things, and sometimes it's intuition, sometimes it's calculation, sometimes it's logic. So it's very difficult to know what is the most important thing. But here, the most important thing for black is definitely to sort of keep the advantage of some sort without allowing a lot of counterplay, a lot of activity. And here he took, and that was a mistake. He should definitely try to, because black is a little bit annoyed with, you just sense that the disharmony here. There's a lot of things that just doesn't fit right, and queen c3 attacking the knight is really annoying. What he may have missed was that I thought, but then we have queen a3 with the other way. And that's the kind of small tactics you have to see, and can be very easy to miss. So queen c3 would have been good, and probably black has to play bishop e7 and queen c7 and go into that ending that looks a little bit suspicious, but it's probably a little better for black, but still, but it's not like you were hoping for, where you said, okay, he played a4, he played knight a3, he played c4, he played weird moves, and I supposed to get a big advantage, and now I'm sitting here, and my position is not harmonious. What's going on? Anyway, he took and allowed black to, and now it starts to look much better. The knight is not in any kind of trouble. The bishops are good, and he took here, and just rook c8, getting the last rook into the game, attacking this one. And we see that the back rank is a big problem for white here. If he takes on b5, if he, for instance, takes something like this, take, then you can't take this one because of rook c8, rook c1, and bishop f1. And here you just, the easiest way is just to play like this, right? I think, and you can't take because of bishop d3, and f2 is also hanging. So that was the tactic. So rook c8, typical tactical stuff that grandmasters always find. Okay, so and rook f1, and to be honest, of course, black white is in trouble here, but rook f2 is just the kind of move that rook f1 was just say, but if I play this, I'm lost. So, of course, defending this pawn is nice, but it cannot be the most important thing in this position. This is simply, there has to be something better. I have to do something here. I cannot just accept that I have to play rook f1 and be more or less lost, because after this move the rook is coming, and all black's pieces are good, Knight h4, of course trying to keep it, but the thing is, this one is weak, and these twos are strong, and it will take some time to get something going here. So after this move, which I'm sure that he really likes, it looked like the rook was going here, but doesn't need to do that. You can just push the pawn all the way to b3, play a3 and b2 and b1. So basically this guy is going down here, and I don't know how to stop it. And here with the passed pawns so advanced, it will be very, very difficult for white to get anything going here. And he tries, of course, and you just push, and you can also do that. You can also just say okay, and keeping all counterplay here. And that's the nice things about bishops; they work long range. And the rook comes anyway, and keeping that rook tied down here. And you start to sense that, okay, he will get in here, he will take this, but is a knight here dangerous? I can just move my king, and the e-pawn will never be dangerous. You can just sense it somehow. And of course, these guys are going to decide the game. So black is winning now, and king g8, and black could more or less white could resign here. The pawns are rolling, a2, and rook takes here, and he resigned. It's losing something. I don't know if I did explain it correctly. The thing is, in the different positions, judging what is most important is because all players, like most players, know that this is a weak pawn, this is a good bishop, this is a bad knight, and so on. But when is the king position the most important thing, and when is it the pawn structure, and when is the attack crashing through, and when is it not crashing through? When are these passed pawns on the queen side just unstoppable and the most important thing, and when are white's counterattack on the king side a big issue? That's the big hard thing. That's the hardest thing about chess. You're judging this because you all know this. You all know what I've been talking about, that the good knight and the knight bishop on h7 and getting harmonious pieces, getting a passed pawns and attacking f2, stuff like that. You all know that. But when is one thing more important than the other? Judging that is the difficult thing. I think a lot of the time grandmasters sort of do some what's called retrograde analysis. They look at some lines and then they see the end of this line is not acceptable compared to how my position is right now. I will not change this into this. So I'm not happy with the deal, sort of. I have to make a better deal, and that's what you're always trying to do when you play chess. Trying to make a little bit better deal for your pieces along the way. Anyway, this was a little bit different video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure doing it for you. Thank you.